Jake was the son of a very rich man. His father was a billionaire who owned many businesses all over the world. Jake grew up in a life full of luxury. He had the best clothes, the fastest cars, and a big house in the city. He was used to people giving him whatever he wanted. Because of this, Jake often thought he was better than others. He did not like to listen to people who worked hard for a living. In fact, he sometimes made fun of them. Jake lived in a very tall and beautiful building. In the middle of the city, the building had many floors and was home to many people, from rich business people to ordinary workers. There were also people who worked in the building to keep it clean and safe. One of these workers was Linda. Linda was the janitor. She cleaned the hallways, emptied the trash, and made sure everything was neat. Linda was a kind woman. She worked very hard every day. She liked her job and took pride in doing it well. Linda was a black woman who had faced many difficulties in her life. She worked 2 jobs to support her family. Even though her life was not easy, she always smiled and treated everyone with respect. But not everyone treated Linda the same way. Some people looked down on her because of her job and skin color. They forgot that she was a person just like them. Jake did not hide his bad attitude. He often looked at Linda with disrespect. One day, Jake saw Linda cleaning near the entrance of the building. He was in a bad mood because his expensive car had a small scratch. Instead of keeping quiet, Jake decided to make Linda the target of his anger. He walked up to her and said loudly, "Hey, why don't you clean better? This place always looks dirty, just like you." People nearby heard him. Some looked shocked. Linda stopped cleaning and looked at Jake calmly. She did not say anything, but Jake continued, "You should get a better job. Maybe something that matches your looks." He laughed, thinking it was funny. Some residents watched but did not say anything. They knew Jake's father was very powerful, and no one wanted to get into trouble. Linda felt hurt inside, but she stayed calm. She knew that responding with anger would not help. Instead, she finished her work quietly and walked away. Sad that someone could be so rude just because she was doing a job that many people do not respect. Other workers whispered about what Jake had said. They were angry and wanted to say something, but they feared losing their jobs. Jake did not care about the feelings of others. He thought that because he was rich, he could say anything he wanted. He believed money gave him power. That day, Jake left the building feeling proud of himself. He did not think about the consequences of his words, but something strange happened. After that, the residents who saw Jake insult Linda started talking to each other. Many were upset with Jake's behavior. They did not like how he treated Linda or others who worked hard to keep the building nice. Some people started sharing stories about Linda's kindness and how she helped others. Slowly, Linda's true character began to shine in the community. Linda did not want to make a big deal out of Jake's insult. She just wanted to do her job well and live her life with dignity. She believed that respect was earned by actions, not by words or money. Even though she was hurt, Linda stayed strong. She continued to work every day with a smile and helped those around her. Meanwhile, Jake's father heard about what his son had done. He was disappointed but did not say much at first. Thought Jake would learn on his own. But Jake's behavior in the building was getting worse. He often insulted other workers and acted as if he owned the place. The residents began to avoid him. One day, Jake was in the elevator with some residents. He made rude comments about the cleaning staff again. This time, a few people spoke up. They told him that his words were hurtful and unfair. Jake was surprised. He had never been told that before. The residents said that kindness and respect were more important than money or status. Jake started to feel uncomfortable. For the first time, he thought about how his actions affected others, but he still did not change. He was used to being spoiled and thought people would always accept his behavior. Linda noticed this change in the community. She saw how people began to support each other more. She also noticed that some people were starting to treat workers like her with more respect. Linda hoped that one day, Jake would understand the true meaning of respect and kindness. The building was a small world, where people of different backgrounds lived and worked together. It was a place full of stories, dreams, and challenges. Linda was one of the many who made the building a better place quietly and humbly. Jake was one who still had much to learn. One afternoon, Jake was walking down the hall and saw Linda helping a lost child find his mother. He watched quietly. For a moment, he saw Linda not as a janitor, but as a caring person. Something inside him stirred, but he quickly ignored it. He was still proud and confident in his wealth. The story was just beginning. Jake's rude words had started a small wave of change in the building. The people there were waiting to see what would happen next. Would Jake continue to be the spoiled son? Or would he learn from the kindness and strength of people like Linda? For now, Jake was unaware of the true power Linda held, not in money or status, but in her heart and character. This power was about to surprise him in ways he never imagined. Linda was more than just a janitor, but no one in the building knew this yet. She kept it a secret because she wanted to live quietly and avoid any trouble. Many years ago, Linda's family had worked very hard to buy the building where she now worked and lived. Her parents had saved money little by little and invested wisely. Over time, the building grew in value and importance. When her parents passed away, Linda inherited the building. She could have chosen to live in a big, fancy home or hire many people to take care of the building, but she decided to keep living simply and work as a janitor herself. Linda believed that to truly understand the people who lived and worked in the building, she needed to experience life as they did. She wanted to see what the building was like, from the ground up. She wanted to feel connected to every person who walked through its doors. So, she put on her janitor's uniform every day and went to work, cleaning the hallways, fixing small problems, helping residents whenever they needed. At first, some people thought it was strange that the building's owner was working as a janitor. They didn't believe it. Linda never told anyone because she knew people might treat her differently if they knew the truth. She had seen how people judged others by their job titles or the clothes they wore. Linda wanted to be judged by her actions, not by her wealth or power. Linda had faced many challenges in her life. She grew up in a neighborhood where money was tight. She knew what it was like to struggle to pay bills and to worry about the future, but she never lost hope. She worked hard in school and learned many things about business and people. When her parents passed away, she took over the building's management even though she was young. It was a big responsibility, but Linda was determined to succeed. She hired good workers, kept the building clean and safe, and made sure residents were happy. She believed that a building was not just bricks and glass, but a home where people should feel comfortable and respected. She cared deeply about the community she had inherited. Linda's quiet strength and kindness were noticed by some residents. They respected her for her hard work and her care. But many others, including Jake, never looked beyond the surface. Jake only saw a janitor who worked for him and his family. He did not understand the story behind Linda or why she chose to live the way she did. One day, a new resident moved into the building. Her name was Mrs. Thompson, an older woman who had heard stories about Linda. Mrs. Thompson came from a small town where everyone knew each other's business. She was curious about Linda and wanted to know more. One afternoon, Mrs. Thompson saw Linda cleaning the lobby and decided to talk to her. Linda greeted her with a warm smile. They spoke about many things: the weather, the building, and the people. Who lived there? Mrs. Thompson asked Linda how she managed to keep the building so nice. Linda answered modestly, saying it was the work of the whole team. But Mrs. Thompson felt there was more to Linda's story. After a while, Mrs. Thompson asked, "Linda, can I ask you something?"
Ah.
"Are you sure you were just the janitor here?"
Ah.
A feeling there is more to your story. Linda paused and then nodded slowly. She decided to share a little bit. She told Mrs. Thompson about her family and how she inherited the building. She explained why she chose to keep working as a janitor. Mrs. Thompson was surprised and deeply impressed. She said, "You are a remarkable woman, Linda. It takes courage to live simply and stay humble. Many people would not do what you have done." Linda smiled, but said she only did what felt right. She believed that respect and kindness were more important than money or titles. Meanwhile, Jake continued his rude behavior without knowing any of this. One afternoon, Jake was walking through the lobby when he saw Linda talking to Mrs. Thompson. He overheard a part of their conversation and heard the word owner. Jake stopped and stared. Could it be true that Linda owned the building? Jake wanted to ask her directly, but he was unsure. He was afraid to look foolish if he was wrong. But the idea stayed in his mind all day. How could a janitor be the owner? It did not fit with what he believed about money and power. Later that week, Jake tried to find out more. He asked a few residents quietly, but no one gave him clear answers. Some people smiled and said, "You will find out soon enough." Others just shook their heads and walked away. Jake's pride made it hard for him to accept what he might discover. He had always thought that money gave him power and respect. But now, he was starting to see that things were not so simple. One evening, after a long day, Jake was alone in the building's lounge. He was thinking about Linda and the building. He realized that Linda was the only person who worked there, every day without complaining. She never asked for special treatment or showed anger at how people treated her. Jake's thoughts were interrupted when Linda walked in. She smiled and said, "Good evening, Jake. How was your day?" Jake was surprised. She spoke to him kindly. He nodded and said, "It was fine." Linda sat down nearby and said, "You know, Jake, respect is something we all deserve. Doesn't matter where we come from or what we do. It's about how we treat each other." Jake looked away, feeling uncomfortable. He did not want to admit that he had been wrong. Linda continued, "Sometimes we need to learn to see people for who they really are, not just what they seem to be." That night, Jake went home with many questions in his mind. For the first time, he wondered what it really meant to have power and respect. Was it about money and status? Or was it about kindness, hard work, and honesty? The next morning, Jake saw Linda cleaning the stairwell. He stopped and said quietly, "Linda, can I talk to you for a minute?" Linda looked up and smiled. "Of course," she said. Jake took a deep breath and said, "I heard you own this building. Is that true?" Linda nodded. "Yes, it is." Jake was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Linda answered, "Because I wanted to be treated like everyone else. I wanted to understand this place from the bottom up. It's important to me to know the people here and how they live." Jake felt a little embarrassed. He thought about all the times he had looked down on Linda and others like her. He realized he had a lot to learn. Linda smiled kindly and said, "It's never too late to change, Jake. Respect and kindness make a stronger person than money ever will." Jake nodded slowly. He felt something inside him start to change. Small seed of respect and understanding. The building was more than just a place to live. It was a community. And in that community, every person had value, no matter their job or background. Linda's quiet strength and wisdom were beginning to touch Jake's heart. And the journey of change had started, but there was still much to learn. As Jake walked away, he looked at Linda differently, saw her not just as a janitor, but as a person who carried a story of courage, humility, and grace. The story was far from over. But now a new chapter was beginning, a chapter where respect and understanding could grow. After Jake learned the truth about Linda owning the building, he felt a mix of emotions. At first, he was shocked. He had never imagined that the woman he had insulted and looked down on was actually the owner. This surprised him because his whole life he had believed that power and respect came only from money and status. Seeing Linda so calm and kind, despite her humble appearance, made him feel confused. Jake was also embarrassed. He thought about the harsh words he had said to Linda and the way he treated her. He knew he had been wrong, but his pride made it difficult. For him to say sorry right away, he was not used to admitting mistakes, especially to someone he had looked down on. Meanwhile, Linda watched Jake carefully. She saw the change in him but did not want to rush things. She knew true change came slowly and had to come from the heart. So, she decided to give Jake a chance to show he was serious about respecting others. One day, Linda called Jake to her office. Jake thought this might be a simple warning or even a punishment. But when he arrived, Linda greeted him with a calm and warm smile. The office was neat and modest, filled with plants and pictures of the building from years ago. It was clear that Linda cared deeply about this place, Linda said. "Jake, I want to talk to you about what happened recently." Jake nodded but did not say anything. He felt nervous. Linda continued, I want you to understand something very important. Respect is not given because of money or power. Respect is earned by how we treat others. Jake listened carefully. As Linda spoke, she told him stories about her family and the hard work they had done to build the business. She explained how she chose to work as a janitor to connect with the people who lived and worked in the building. I believe Linda said that every person deserves kindness and respect, no matter their job or background. Linda looked Jake in the eyes and said softly, "What you said and did hurt many people. It hurt me too. But I believe you can change. I want you to show me that you are willing to learn and grow." Jake felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to say sorry, but words did not come easily. Instead, he nodded. Linda smiled gently and said, "That is a good first step." After the meeting, Jake began to think deeply about his actions. For the first time, he felt the pain his words had caused. He remembered the faces of the workers he had insulted. He saw how hard they worked and how little thanks they received. He started to realize that being rich did not make him better than anyone else. Jake decided to make a change, but he knew it would not be easy. Old habits and pride were hard to break. Still, he wanted to prove to Linda and to himself that he could be different. The next day, Jake went to the building's cafeteria, where many workers ate during breaks. He saw Linda there, sitting with some of the staff. He hesitated, but then walked over and said quietly, "Linda, I want to apologize for how I treated you and everyone else. I was wrong." Linda looked surprised but pleased. She nodded and said, "Thank you, Jake. That means a lot." The other workers also smiled and welcomed Jake's apology. It was the beginning of a new relationship. Jake started spending more time talking to the staff. He asked them about their lives and listened carefully, learned about their families, their dreams, and the challenges they faced. Jake began to understand that everyone had a story worth hearing. One afternoon, Jake noticed a worker named Marcus fixing a broken light in the hallway. Jake had always ignored such work before. Now he stopped and asked, "Do you need help?" Marcus smiled and said, "Thanks, but I've got it." Still, Jake stayed nearby and watched. He realized how important small jobs like this were for the building's safety and comfort. Over time, Jake's attitude changed. He became more patient and kind, stopped making rude comments, and instead started praising the work of the staff. People around him noticed the change and felt hopeful. Linda watched Jake's growth with quiet pride. She believed that everyone deserved a second chance. She also knew that true respect came from understanding and empathy. By opening his heart, Jake was learning what many rich people never understood. One day, Linda invited Jake to help organize a community event for the building's residents. It was a chance for everyone to come together and celebrate. Jake agreed happily. He wanted to show that he was serious about being part of the community. At the event, Jake worked alongside Linda and the staff. He helped set up chairs, served food, and even joined a game with some children. For the first time, Jake felt a true connection with the people around him. He realized that money and status were not as important as kindness and friendship. The event was a success. Residents smiled and thanked Jake for his help. Some said they were surprised by how much he had changed. Jake felt proud, not because of praise, but because he knew he was becoming a better person. Linda and Jake talked quietly at the end of the event. Linda said, "You've come a long way, Jake. I'm proud of you." Jake smiled and replied, "Thank you, Linda. You taught me more than I ever learned from my father or my wealth." Jake knew he still had a lot to learn, but he was ready. He understood that respect was a two-way street. It had to be earned every day through actions, not words. The building was no longer just a place where Jake lived. It had become a community where he belonged. Linda's example had shown him the true meaning of strength: quiet, kind, full of courage. As Jake looked around the building that night, he felt a new sense of hope, wanted to continue growing and making a difference. The journey was just beginning, but he was no longer the spoiled son who thought he was better than everyone else. The story of Linda and Jake was one of change, respect, and understanding. It was a reminder that sometimes the people we least expect hold the greatest power, and that true power comes from kindness, humility, and the courage to learn from others. After the community event, Jake felt more connected to the building and the people who lived and worked there. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never experienced before: real respect for others. He saw how much effort Linda and the staff put into making the building a home for everyone. This changed how he saw his own life and the world around him. Jake started visiting the building more often, not just because he lived there, but because he wanted to be part of the community. He helped with small tasks, like carrying groceries for elderly residents or holding the door open for others. These simple acts made him feel good inside. People began to smile when they saw him, and some even started friendly conversations. Linda noticed Jake's efforts. She knew that change was not easy, especially for someone who had grown up with privilege and pride. But she also saw the genuine desire in Jake's heart to become better. She believed that everyone deserved a chance to grow, no matter their past mistakes. One day, Jake asked Linda if he could help with the building's maintenance team. He wanted to learn more about the work they did every day. Linda smiled and agreed. She introduced him to Marcus, a kind and patient worker who had been with the building for many years. Marcus welcomed Jake warmly and showed him around. He explained the different tasks the team handled, from fixing leaks to checking security systems. Jake listened carefully and even helped with some simple repairs. He was surprised by how much skill and knowledge the workers had. He had never thought about these things before. Working with Marcus and the maintenance team opened Jake's eyes to the value of hard work. He realized that every job, no matter how small it seemed, was important. Without these workers, the building would not run smoothly. People like Linda and Marcus kept everything safe and comfortable for all residents. Jake's respect for the staff grew every day. He stopped thinking about people as less than because of their jobs or backgrounds. Instead, he saw them as individuals with stories, talents, and dreams. This new way of thinking made Jake feel humble and grateful. Linda and Jake also began to talk more about life and lessons. Linda shared stories from her past, the struggles her family faced, and the sacrifices they made. She talked about the importance of kindness, honesty, and hard work. Jake listened with respect and began to understand the values that shaped Linda's life. One afternoon, Jake faced a challenge. A problem occurred in the building's plumbing system, causing water to leak into some apartments. The residents were upset and worried. Linda and the maintenance team worked quickly to fix the issue, but it was a big job. Jake saw the stress on Linda's face and the tiredness in the workers. He decided to help by talking to the residents and calming their worries. He apologized for the inconvenience and promised that the team was doing their best. His kindness surprised many residents who saw a new side of him. Jake then joined the maintenance team to help with the repairs. Even though he was not trained for this work, he did what he could, carrying tools, holding flashlights, and encouraging the workers. He worked late into the night, tired but determined. The next day, the building was back to normal. The residents thanked Linda, the maintenance team, and Jake for their hard work. Jake felt proud, not because of praise, but because he had done something meaningful. This experience taught Jake that leadership was not about giving orders or showing off. It was about helping others, taking responsibility, and working alongside people. He began to see Linda as a true leader, person who cared deeply and led by example. Linda continued to guide Jake with patience. She encouraged him to keep learning and growing. She reminded him that change was a journey, not a destination. Jake understood that being respectful and kind was not a one-time thing, but a way of life. Over time, Jake started organizing small events for the building's community. He worked with Linda to create activities that brought people together: barbecues, movie nights, and charity drives. These events helped residents connect and build friendships. The building became more than just a place to live. It became a family. Jake felt happy to be part of this family. He enjoyed hearing stories from neighbors, sharing laughter, and helping whenever he could. One evening, Jake sat with Linda in her office. He thanked her for everything she had taught him. "You changed my life, Linda," he said sincerely. "I never knew respect and kindness were so powerful." Linda smiled and replied, "Jake, you had the power to change all along. Sometimes we just need a little guidance to see it." Jake realized that true strength was not in wealth or status, but in humility, kindness, and the willingness to learn. He felt grateful for the chance to grow and be part of something bigger than himself. The story of Jake and Linda was no longer about a spoiled son and a humble janitor. It was about friendship, respect, and the power of second chances. It was a reminder that no matter who we are or where we come from, we can always choose to be better. As the days passed, Jake continued to live with a new purpose. He treated everyone with respect and kindness. He worked hard to support the building and its people, and he never forgot the lessons Linda had shared. The building stood tall in the city, not just as a structure of steel and glass, but as a place where people learned the true meaning of community. Linda's quiet leadership and Jake's journey of change became a story that inspired many. In the end, Jake understood that the most valuable thing in life was not money or power, but the respect we give and receive from others. And with Linda's guidance, he was ready to live that truth every day. Jake's transformation was now clear to everyone in the building. He had become a different man, one who truly cared about the people around him. Where before he had looked down on others, now he treated them with kindness and respect. It was a powerful change, and it inspired many. One morning, Jake decided to start a new project. He wanted to create a garden area outside the building where residents could relax, meet, and enjoy nature. He talked to Linda about his idea, and she was very supportive. Together, they planned the garden carefully, thinking about what plants to use and how to make the space welcoming for everyone. Jake worked hard to get permission from the city and arranged for workers to help with the garden. He spent many afternoons planting flowers, trimming bushes, and setting up benches. Some residents joined in to help. The garden soon became a beautiful spot filled with colorful flowers, soft grass, and quiet places to sit. The garden was more than just plants and benches. It became a symbol of the new spirit in the building. It showed how people could come together, no matter their background or job, to create something wonderful. Jake felt proud, not because he was the son of a billionaire, because he had helped bring people together. Linda watched the garden grow and smiled. She saw how Jake had changed not just in his actions, but in his heart. He was no longer the spoiled son who thought money made him better. He had learned that true value came from kindness, respect, and community. The residents loved the garden. Children played on the grass while parents talked nearby. Elderly people sat on benches, enjoying the fresh air and peaceful surroundings. The garden became a place where neighbors became friends. One afternoon, Jake invited Linda to a small gathering in the garden. He thanked her for everything she had done for him and the building. "Linda," he said, "you taught me lessons I will never forget. You showed me what true strength and leadership mean. I am grateful for your kindness and wisdom." Linda smiled warmly. "Jake, you have grown so much. I am proud of the man you have become. Remember, respect and kindness are gifts we give to each other every day." As the seasons changed, the building became a place of harmony and respect. Jake continued to learn and grow. Always remembering the lessons from Linda, he became a role model for other young people in the city, showing them that wealth does not define a person, their character does. Linda's quiet leadership continued to guide the community. She remained humble, working alongside the staff and residents. Her story inspired many to look beyond appearances and value each person for who they are. One day, a reporter came to the building. She had heard about the change in Jake and the community spirit that Linda had helped create. The reporter wanted to tell their story to the world. She interviewed Linda, Jake, and several residents. Linda spoke about the importance of respect and kindness. Jake shared his journey from arrogance to humility. The residents talked about how the building had become a true community. The story touched many people who read it, inspiring them to treat others with more care and understanding. Jake and Linda's story was a reminder that everyone has the power to change. No matter where you come from or what mistakes you have made, you can choose to be better. Respect and kindness are not just words, they are actions that build bridges and heal wounds. In the end, Jake understood that his true worth was not in his family's money or his own pride. It was in the respect he earned and the friendships he made. Linda showed him that leadership is about serving others with a humble heart. The building stood tall, shining not just because of its design, but because of the people who lived and worked there. It was a place where respect, kindness, and community thrived. Jake looked around one evening feeling grateful. He saw neighbors chatting, children laughing, and Linda smiling as she worked. He knew that this was home, not just a place, but a family. Their story was one of hope and change. It showed that no matter how lost we may seem, we can always find our way through respect, kindness, and understanding. And so, Jake and Linda continued their journey side by side, learning from each other and building a better future for all.